few weeks back, I brought around 20 of my subscribers out to a mansion in Atlanta for a week to make beats and network with multi-platinum producers and even Billboard charting artists.
I'm a real face in this shit, problem come, I can't drop my head.
It was insane. We had producers who worked with Travis Scott, 21 Savage, Future, Lil Baby, Yeet, Kanye West, and so many more all pull up and network with these up-and-coming producers. It was a crazy experience, but before we get into all of it, let me quickly explain the concept of the week. Essentially, the idea for these camps that I run is to rent out a huge mansion in one of these major cities like Atlanta, LA, Miami, New York, and then bring around 15 to 20 guys that are up-and-coming producers to the house, and we'll all live together and work together for the week. And then I hit up every single big person I know in that city and try to get a bunch of big connections, A&Rs, manager, artists, producers to pull up and network with these up-and-coming guys one-on-one in person. I did one with my boy T9C in LA, and it was one of the best experiences I've had in my career, so I had to run it back. Literally like a week after getting back from LA, I booked the Airbnb for Atlanta because I just really wanted to do it again. And then once the submissions started coming in, I started inviting people, and once we sold out and filled out all the spots, we just had to wait until we were all in Atlanta. The first day was really just everyone traveling in. We had people from Australia, Mexico, Europe, Canada. So everyone was kind of tired. So we were just going to be getting to know each other, setting up the house, putting away our luggage, that kind of stuff. Well, at least that was the plan. It turned out to be probably the craziest night of the entire camp, but I'll get into that in a second. But anyways, the second I got in the house, I was just in awe because this house was so sick. As you can see, this house is super big, super nice, and we had a ton of room to work with. So we just kind of got started setting up studios in bedrooms, moving some tables around and all that so that we had places to work for the week. And then after a while of setting up and just people getting to the house, we had some fire ass barbecue from Rodney Scott's Barbecue. This barbecue was so good. Definitely a great way to start off the camp. Anyways, once everyone was there, we all had some food, got to know each other a little bit. We did a Pass the Aux event. So essentially everyone just took turns playing their best 3 to 5 favorite loops or beats that they had made, just so everyone kind of had a better idea of what everyone's sound was like and all that kind of stuff. And also just to kind of break the ice a little bit. And some of these guys had some crazy ass beats.
What the fuck? This is hard.
Once we had finished up the Pass the Aux, I wasn't really planning on having any big guys come during this night because I just kind of wanted to go to bed early, get everyone well rested so that we could go hard during the rest of the week. But my boy Clutch Frenchie, who engineers YTB Fat and he's worked with Moneybagg Yo and a bunch of other big artists, hit me up and told me that he was going to be out of town tomorrow, so this was the only night he would be able to come through for the camp. So I was like, fuck it, we'll have him pull up. So Clutch came over and it was really dope to meet him in person after working with him on records with YTB Fat for over a year or so. But anyways, we got him set up in one of the rooms and then he started cooking up with a bunch of the guys' loops. And at some point he just kind of turned to me and asked me if I wanted Fat to pull up. And I was like, fucking of course. But half of me was thinking there's no way that Fat is actually gonna pull up, but hey, it's worth a try. But sure enough, at about midnight, I see a Suburban pull up in the driveway and Fat hopped out with some of his crew. So everyone came through the house, and within about 5 minutes of everyone just kind of getting settled, he started asking who had beats and he wanted to start recording right away. The problem was we weren't really expecting any artists to pull up to this camp. It was supposed to just kind of be us cooking up beats and stuff. So thank God some of the guys brought some microphones because we had to set up really quick and improvise. And as you can see right here, we had some pretty ghetto setups going. And at around this point, Fat was kind of going through beats from the producers that were in the room with him. And he started recording to some of the beats that they had sent him.
I'm a real face in this shit, problem come, I can't drop my head.
And honestly, at this point, it was just crazy as fuck that someone as big as Fat had pulled up on the very first night when it was completely unplanned, unexpected that would happen. Anyway, since Fat had already came through, I figured this was not gonna just be some chill early night. So I started hitting up some more people in my phone, and my boy DB, who's worked with Future, Kanye West, Lil Baby, and so many more, pulled up, and it was so good to finally meet him in person. He told me that he was in beat mode and immediately started getting busy working with some of the guys, and he cooked up like 10 collabs that night with guys from the camp, just going crazy. And around the same time, my boy Concept P pulled up. He's worked with Future, Moneybagg Yo, 6ix9ine, and you probably know him from his crazy viral beat that's all over the place on Reels and TikTok. Anyways, he came in and cooked some fire. He actually cooked this one crazy beat with a sample that I made with my boy Freeze and Elliot. Elliot is a crazy guitarist, and Freeze brought his saxophone and he goes crazy on that. And they just kind of posted up in the living room. Elliot started playing guitar. Freeze started improvising sax top line on it, and they were just recording that into a mic. And then I took that audio, chopped it, sent it to Concept, and we cooked up this beat. But anyways, at this point, I was just kind of bouncing between all the rooms, making sure everyone was good, and also making sure that I was talking to everyone, which is a very, very key part whenever I go to events like this. Whether I'm the one running the camp or if I'm going to a camp that my label runs, you really just want to talk to everyone because you never know who someone might be or who someone is connected to. And I've learned that lesson the hard way by not going up and talking to a guy. Turns out he's one of the biggest writers in the world, and then my friend did talk to him, gets flown out to work on one of the biggest artist albums. So now whenever I'm in the room with people, I'm trying to get to know everybody. And I actually found out that one of the guys that was chilling and came through with Y2B Fat was actually Rod Wave's blood brother. So just from making conversation with him and talking, now I have a super solid connect to send beats for Rod Wave to. So if you're ever at some in-person event, just make sure that you're going up and talking to everyone because you just never know who people are. But anyways, at this point, everyone was just kind of in their separate rooms, different areas of the house is cooking up. If you walk through that house, it just sounded like 18 different hi-hats going off at once. People cooking up in the kitchen, people cooking up in the bedrooms, recording songs, all this kind of stuff. But at around 4:35 in the morning, it kind of started to die down. Some people started to dip and all that. And once Fat stopped recording, me and him actually chopped it up for about 30-45 minutes talking about some investing shit, which was super cool. But at around 6 in the morning, everyone who wasn't actually staying at the house kind of dipped. And after cleaning up a bit, after all those people came through, I went to bed at around 7 a.m. Not at all how I expected the first night to go. But I feel like this first night really just set the tone that some crazy stuff was going to go down this week. So day 2 was our first full day of the camp. Kind of the template for the day and all these days that we're just staying at the house working is that we have a masterclass in the morning. We kind of cook up with each other in the afternoon. And then later in the afternoon, some of the bigger producers, artists, managers, all that kind of stuff come through. So as soon as everyone was up, the first thing I did was run a masterclass on how to network when you're in person.
Relationships are more important than everything that you could do here. It's more important to build some solid relationships here than it is to make 100 new beats. I can put people in here. I can try to like give some people alley-oops, but at the end of the day, I can't force people to fuck with you or work with you. You know what I mean? You gotta kind of take the initiative and do it yourself.
I feel like it's just really important on this first day, kind of how to network when you're in person, because it can be uncomfortable for some people to go up and be like, yo, my name is da-da-da-da-da, let's collab on beats. And there's certain ways that you don't really want to talk to people, certain ways that you do want to talk to people, to where you're not coming off too pushy, but you're also making it worth your time going out there and meeting these people face to face and working your move and getting connections out of it. And by the way, if you want the full uncut masterclasses from this camp, as well as cookups with industry producers and a bunch of other unreleased footage with gems from the camp, check out the ATL files, which will be the first link in the description down below. It's just a bunch of unreleased gems that aren't going to make it to YouTube or Instagram or anywhere. So if you want some exclusive sauce, make sure to check that out. But anyways, after that, everyone just started kind of cooking up with each other around the house. And over in the guest house that's kind of detached from the rest of the house, we set up like this little live room where we could record live guitar, live saxophone, vocals, stuff like that without getting a bunch of the bleed through from all the speakers going throughout the whole entire house. And again, my boy Elliot was going crazy in there playing the guitar. And later on in the afternoon, we had some big guys pull up. First off, we had my boy TB Digital come through, which if you don't know who TB is, you're pretty much living under a rock. My boy Marco Lenz just moved to the US from Russia. He's worked with huge artists like Future, Lil Baby, Lil Durk, etc. Concept P pulled back up from the other night. My boy Drew Adu came through, which is one of my closest friends in the music industry. And if you're not familiar with him, he actually co-founded Cymatics. And recently, he's been focused on the industry side of things, going crazy. He's got some crazy stuff in the works. And then my boy K6, who I swear is on every big Atlanta producer's Instagram stories. He's in every single studio session. He pulled up. He's one of the funniest motherfuckers I've ever met. And he played us a bunch of crazy unreleased stuff that I obviously can't talk on. But he also brought his boy Reapy Montana, who's worked with Polo G, Lil Durk, Rilo, and a bunch of other big names. But yeah, at this point in time, everyone just kind of migrated to their own different areas of the house and started cooking up with each other. And everyone was going crazy. bit later, we had another artist pull through, Quail P, who I actually didn't hear of till the day of, but my boy Concept P asked if he could come through, and I took a listen to his music, and he is insanely talented.
Baby, what you got can make me fall in love, and I don't know what.
So we set him up in that live room of the guest house that I was talking about earlier, and they started going crazy in there, playing live guitar and making song demos from scratch. Later on, my boy Check invited his friend Rubio, who's got some of the craziest beats I've ever heard. And for a while, everyone was just cooking up, talking, getting to know each other. And it was really dope to watch people making these connections, working with these bigger producers, and being able to lock in with them. Because I feel like just being able to work in person, face to face with these people makes it a lot easier to be able to work with them long term. My kind of thought process whenever I've traveled myself is kind of like, I'm going to go out there, just shake a bunch of hands, get a bunch of phone numbers, and meet that person face to face once to make a good connection so that we can hopefully work together for the next 10 years down the line. But anyways, we stayed up till about 5 or 6 in the morning. Again, everyone was just cooking up through the night. And finally, at about 6 a.m., I pretty much fell on the bed and just went right to sleep, try to get a few hours of rest before the next day started. Day 3, we're out here cooking up right here. Cooking up all throughout the house. We got people pulling up till fucking 7 in the morning, working. About to get some fucking wings. So this day was pretty much the same thing. Everyone just cooking up throughout the house, working with each other, ate some lunch, and we didn't get a masterclass in this day because we were just so tired from going to bed twice in a row at like 6, 7 in the morning. And we also had a studio session this day at 6 p.m. And after cooking up for a bit, my boy, my best friend Jacob pulled up.
All right, we are here at Coffee's camp. A lot of producers in there cooking up. We'll go inside and we're gonna check it out.
If you aren't familiar, he's worked with Travis Scott, Metro Boomin, 21 Savage, Bryson Tiller, and a ton of other big artists. And he also runs a very successful plugin company, Software Audio. But anyways, he came through and we set him up in the big room and we just had everyone from the camp kind of play their stuff for him. Kind of like another Pass the Aux, but playing stuff for him specifically. And around the same time, my boy Woot, who's an A&R over at BeatStars, pulled up as well. And we also started running a Pass the Aux in another room with him. And he was just kind of listening to everyone's beats, thinking of the opportunities that they had going over at the publishing side of BeatStars, and just trying to see if he could make something happen. Then my boy Cloud pulled up, and he's worked with some huge artists like Yeet, Kodak Black, Destroy Lonely, Koivo, Takeoff, and a bunch of other guys. And one of the first things he told me was he needed a KXVI collab when he came through. So instead of me just sending a loop to him and watching him do drums like I normally would do, they forced me to sit down and work on FL Studio, so I had to sit there and struggle to add drums. But you can see me doing that here.
You're officially converting to FL, right?
I'm thinking about
No, I got you on camera. You're busted. You're busted.
And then Drew from the other day also pulled up and started cooking up with everyone. But after a few hours of everybody cooking up, we had to get to the studio session. And half the people stayed at the house and were cooking up with some of the bigger guys that were at the house as well. And then the other half of us went to the studio to do the session. And Jacob had filmed a fire conversation that me and Cloud were having in the car, dropping some gems about making it as a producer online, content, all that kind of stuff.
That's probably the biggest thing, because your name is your brand. So like as you walk around, you're kind of promoting yourself, you know. You ever feel like with content, KXVI, like a lot of the videos, sometimes it's not even about the video itself, like the nitty gritty details, more about, it's about what the value that you create.
I've had people comment, and I agree with it. They're like, these beats aren't even that crazy, but the editing like makes it feel like it's like, yeah, if you just heard the beat, you'd be like, yeah, that's a cool Travis Scott type beat. But when I like build it out and kind of build like a story in the video of how it's,
The story's so important.
yeah, like
I feel like a lot of people neglect the fact that it's the story that keeps people entertained and like connected, you know?
exactly.
If you were like starting out again, what would you do to build out like a YouTube channel?
First thing is like, I think just get over yourself in post, and also like be willing to just suck ass.
I don't know, I think nowadays, especially with social media, internet, it's good to just make reels or make YouTube shorts or like just some form of content or some form of live streaming even. I know people on Twitch making beats, that's kind of popular now too. Whatever it is, like it's important to do that kind of stuff.
Anyways, after preaching in the car for a good 30 minutes, we got to Bravo Ocean Studios, which is one of the most fire studios in Atlanta. This place was sick. It had tons of synths, and the second that everyone got in there, everyone just went on a synth and started playing some stuff. And it was really cool to see that, because I know that a lot of the guys that came to the camp don't have synths back at home, so this was their first time working with a real analog synth, and these were some really, really dope synths too. But anyways, once I was watching everyone kind of doing that, I just kind of thought to myself that it would be a waste of time of the studio session to just have, like, you know, 2 people spend 2 hours cooking up some insane synth loop and everyone else is just sitting there waiting. So I figured it'd be more fun to kind of do it like a boot camp almost, where it's like 3 or 4 guys, each one is on one synth, and everyone just kind of jams and plays stuff together until they recorded a cool idea, and then I just had the engineer save the project file, and then we could just take those raw synth stems, drag those into our DAW, and then work on them on our own time after the studio session when we weren't sitting there with access to all these synths. And we went crazy doing this.
Every single person could be like playing a synth.
Good work, man. All right, dude.
After a while doing that though, we kind of got bored. I just noticed that the energy in the room was slipping a little bit. There were some people about to fall asleep on the couch, and I was kind of like, fuck it, let's do something fun. We had about an hour or 2 left of our session that I already paid for, and we all agreed that it would be fun and just stupid to just make a song completely from scratch with everyone in the room. And somehow they even got me in there dropping a freestyle. All right, so we got this little drum idea. We're gonna try to cook up a song in like 5 minutes. We got all these synths, record some shit. Yep. Turn it up a little bit. Alright. And you just started from the top.
Put your body spooning up, yeah, we saying, ooh yeah. Pull up in the Rari and the engine moving, ooh yeah. Now they're in the air and the beach is saying, ooh yeah.
Look, there's the lead vocal where it, da, da, na, 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 and then everyone, ooh yeah. Or, yeah. Ooh yeah. Hoo-yah!
I'm a toxic gem, we getting mad moolah. Got my bitch in, you know what I'm saying? Got it, another time, no do
There you go.
Yes, Sarsky.
And after messing around and just fucking around with everyone for a bit, having fun, we ended up with a finished song.
Now ATL, yeah, we getting moolah. Bunch of baddies pulling up and we saying ooh yeah. Pulling up in a Rari, engine moving ooh yeah. Landing in the A and the bitches saying ooh yeah.
Anyways, after that, we headed back to the house and pretty much called it a night. First thing with this morning was just kind of getting everyone up early at 12 p.m., which sounds crazy, but considering we're going to bed at like 5 to 7 in the morning, 12 is kind of early, but we had to get up early because we had 2 master classes to do today. One with my attorney Kyle, who's the lead attorney for BeatStars and BeatStars Publishing, and we kind of had a conversation Q&A kind of session where we talked about getting royalties as a producer, what to do whenever someone steals your beat as a producer, when you should hire an entertainment lawyer, and all that good stuff.
When do you think you should get a lawyer?
When you about to start signing anything, management agreement, production agreement, publishing agreement,
Whenever you about to sign something, you need to find a lawyer. The best way to find a good lawyer is recommendation.
What should you do as a producer? Go on YouTube, whatever, you hear your shit got stolen.
Every platform, digital platform, has what's called a DMCA. Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. So all you need to do is just type in whatever platform it is, DMCA, and it'll give you the link and you just fill all that out.
Then right after that, we had my boy Jacob do a masterclass on making your own VST plugins, building an online brand as a producer, and overall just a bunch of good, inspiring advice on making it as a producer. And here's some clips from that.
One thing that I'll say to all of you though is like, you're gonna fail. It's like your ads are not gonna work the first time. The big thing about ads, it's all an experiment. If you are interested in doing ads, this is like the plan. You can go to software, go to Unison, you can go to Nike, you can go anywhere you want. What you want to do is you want to go onto their Facebook, you want to go to About, you want to go to Page Transparency, and this is where you're going to have a chance to see all of their ads. So if you go to Ad Library, you're going to see all of the ads that they're currently running. What you want to do is scroll down, because, and I saw this earlier today, this ad has been running since 2021. Why would somebody run an ad since 2021? It works. It makes them a lot of fucking money.
And right after that, my boy Dylan Graham came through, which if you don't already know who Dylan is, he's one of my all-time favorite sample makers and producers. This dude has the best R&B loops that I've ever heard. Take a listen to some of his placements.
Yours, mine, ours. I could do this for
For the bad little bitches in the city and it's all on me. I wish it was just us in this bitch, but they can't trust us in this bitch, cause I'm trying to bust nuts in this.
And it turned out that he lived like 5 minutes away from the B&B that we were staying at. So he came through and chilled for a bit, talked to some of the guys. And then later on, K6, Concept, Rubio, Reapy, and Marco all pulled back up. So a lot of the same guys from the previous night.
All you paying motherfuckers, fuck y'all.
But anyways, Jose and his boy also came through, and Jose's worked with people like NLE Choppa, Lil TJ, Pop Smoke, and a bunch of other big artists. And once everyone was in the house, everyone just got busy and started cooking up. Honestly, it was just super cool to see people cooking up something so different than what I would normally be cooking up, using completely different sounds than I would normally use. And I think that's one of the coolest things about working in person. I feel like just watching other people make stuff in person, I learn something every time. But anyways, this night was pretty much the same as any other night. We were just cooking up beats, hammering out those Xenology beats. I think this night they brought a bunch of beers, so some people were getting lit as well. And at this point, we kind of had this little routine starting to grow. As soon as the night would kind of slow down a little bit and everyone kind of stopped cooking up, we would all kind of migrate to the kitchen. We'd all be huddled around in one group, eating cereal, talking, drinking water, whatever it was. And then we would normally get into some deeper conversations, giving some advice to these up and coming guys on what it's really like being in the industry, working full time as a producer, and all that kind of stuff.
Number one thing too, never run a relationship, especially with a big dog, over pennies and nickels and dimes. So like it's just like shit like that, bro. You gotta be willing to cooperate and take your ego out of the situation. Take your ego, take your pride out of your work, bro.
I feel like these kind of moments where everyone's just talking are what actually ended up making the most solid connections, because we were just having real conversations with each other, just being human beings, not just trying to spam each other fucking Nardo Wick loops. Which is why I think going and meeting people in person is so important, because even if you can make connections online, and don't get me wrong, I've made a bunch of connections online that are super solid, it's just a different level when you actually meet someone face to face. Funny shit happens, you guys have inside jokes, all this kind of stuff. But anyways, after we preached for a little while, we all went to bed tired as fuck at around 6 a.m. Again, I don't know why I thought that was just gonna be a first night only thing. It pretty much just turned into the normal bedtime at this camp around 6 in the morning. But the camp was almost over at this point and I was exhausted. This was our final day in Atlanta, and we woke up late as fuck again. But before we get into the rest of the day, I just want to shout out all the producers who came through. I really appreciate you guys and being willing to take that step, spend the money on the flights, the tickets, and all that to come out there and meet these people in person. I feel like that sets people apart. But yeah, I'll put all the Instagrams of the producers who came through on the screen right now. And then also do me a favor and go follow all of them on Instagram. I'll have them in the description. But anyways, like I said, this was the last day in Atlanta, and we had another studio session that I was going to take the other half of the guys to who didn't come to the first session. So we didn't have time to cook up and work like crazy, but we kind of had that same routine where we woke up, did a masterclass, ate some food, and then got the day going. And for the last day, I did a super important masterclass on how to maintain your connections.
If you have a phone full of all these big names and you're never using your connections, you might as well not have the connections. Drop your pride and double text. I'll fucking...
This is how it goes.
And then guess what? 2 years later, yo bro, you got 3 songs dropping on the album, blah, blah, blah. If you made a connect and they only really make loops and they need drums, they don't need loops at all, and you're not really a drum guy, start doing drums. If you're really trying to tap in with someone, it's a give and take, you know what I mean? You gotta give them value if you're asking them for an opportunity.
But anyways, I pretty much just talked about being consistent, continuing to send stuff to these people after you get their numbers from the camp and all this kind of stuff, because I feel like way too often producers are getting contacts with people, sending a pack or two, not getting a response, getting unmotivated, and they don't end up maintaining that connection. So I just gave a bunch of advice on how to respark conversations and all that kind of stuff in that class, because I wanted everyone who came to the camp to actually get the most out of it and not just go home and not work with any of the people that they just met. And I'll get a little more into all that later, but just a little bit after the masterclass, we ended up heading to the studio, and I had TB Digital, Rubio, and my boy AO Sim, who works with Gunna, Lil Baby, Future, Dirk, and a bunch of other big names, all pull up to the studio. And we kind of did the same thing at first that we did in the first studio session, where everyone was just cooking up on the synths. We were just making a bunch of raw ideas that we would finish later. And then when Sim pulled up, he told us that he was working on stuff for a Gunna album. So we had my boy Elliot play some crazy guitar stuff, and then me and Sim started adding stuff on the synths. Then we had the engineer bounce the files, and Sim went crazy cooking up on them. All in all, we made a bunch of synth ideas, Sim cooked up some beats, and after a while of that, the session was over. And at this point, I was so happy that we made it through the week and that the camp was successful. Don't get me wrong, the camp was so fun and there was a bunch of dope people coming through. I feel like I made a bunch of new friends by the end of it, but it was super stressful making sure that everything was running smoothly, making sure that I actually had dope connects for the up and coming guys pulling through every single day to make it worth their time for coming out. So once that session was over and I knew that we just had to get through the rest of this night, it felt like a weight had been lifted off my chest. And I figured, fuck it, let's go out and get some beers and just celebrate having a good camp, meeting all these dope people, and just kind of blow off some steam and just enjoy the last night. Anyways, after we all had a few shots and a few beers, everyone kind of stopped cooking up and working. We were all just kind of shooting the shit and talking. On this night, I had a lesson reinforced that I preach myself to everyone. I always tell people to keep sending shit no matter what, no matter if you get a response, just keep sending. But anyways, what happened that night is I've been in contact with this huge songwriter who works with Drake, Travis Scott, a bunch of other people. And ever since I met him, I've been sending him beats nonstop and getting 0 replies. And this guy is a huge writer. So, you know, I just figured doesn't like my stuff, doesn't even care to listen to it in the first place, maybe didn't even save my contact, I don't know. But then randomly that night I got a text from him, and it had been 5 days since I had sent him a pack, and he just said thank you for always sending stuff through. But I feel like a lot of up and coming producers nowadays just give up too easy. Posting content, sample packs, selling tight beats, whatever you're trying to do, if you give up right away when you don't see success right away, you're gonna have a hell of a time getting stuff going. You really got to stick it through to see results. But after all that, I went to sleep, and I got about 2 hours of sleep before I woke up and had to start cleaning the house before we we had to check out of the B&B. And let me tell you, 2 hours of sleep and hungover trying to clean a whole mansion was not a good time. But once I had it cleaned up, we took one last look at the house and how crazy it was. And after that, we checked out. That was the end of that one. So that's pretty much it. I appreciate you guys watching all the way to the end of this one. And as a reminder, if you want to see the uncut files from this Atlanta camp, those preaching conversations, cookups, masterclasses, and all that good stuff, check out the ATL files. It'll be the first link in the description down below. And for the first people who want to cop it, and I don't know the exact number yet, but we're probably going to limit the amount of people that are going to be able to get access to that just to keep it exclusive. But also, while I have you, if you want to come to one of my next camps, I'm going to be doing another camp, hopefully summer of this year, 2025. So if you want to come out to that, keep an eye out on my Instagram for whenever I post the submission for that. Hope to see you there. But anyways, have a good rest of your day, and I'll catch you. Peace.